This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
Good morning, Sharjah and the United Arab Emirates. Welcome onto the Morning Majlis. This is Thursday Vibes here in the studio, so we're going to keep you entertained a lot more with the musical entertainment that we have on offer here on Pulse 95. And shout out to all of you tuning in at this hour as you're commuting and making your way to work. A couple of big stories that we'll be talking about this morning. A lot of developments have been happening. A lot of people have been talking about this, saying, okay, it's September. We're only 2 months away from the elections in the United States. There's talk already starting in multiple conference rooms, multiple living rooms about who's going to win. But we've seen some polls are out and talking a little bit more about one particular candidate.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting one to get into, and we'll get into why that candidate has been pegged as the leader or has the lead as far as the polls are concerned. It's pretty interesting what is happening in the United States at the moment. It couldn't be a worse time for Donald Trump with the economy the way it is, the timing of COVID-19, and a number of protests that had erupted across the country. So we're going to assess what the polls have been saying, what the analysts predict as well, and how those effects or events that are occurring at the moment, how those might impact the presidential election.
Absolutely. And from Sharjah, the Sharjah Department of Finance inaugurated a smart app which allows the higher administrative levels in the department to accept electronic approvals for all types of documents and transactions. So we'll talk more about the app and how it will help facilitate customers' experience and how this system will enhance sustainability also in Sharjah and much, much more.
Yep, of course. So much to talk about, so much to discuss as well. We'll give you a couple of updates about the hurricane that also took place over in the United States, as well as some political shifts have been taking place over in the Caribbean. We'll keep you posted about all that. So do get involved on the text lines 4215. This is the Morning Majlis, only on Pulse 95.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis. Pulse 95.
Yes, join the conversation. Text us at 4215. Throughout the show, we're talking about the United States presidential elections, the latest from the polls, which state that Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden leads Republican President Donald Trump across the country by 9 percentage points. This is according to a Reuters Ipsos poll that showed Trump's, quote, law and order message fell short with its target audience of suburban voters.
Yeah, the September 11th to September 15th opinion poll, actually, which was released yesterday, found that 50% of likely voters said that they were casting their ballots for Biden, while 41% were doing the same for Trump. Now, another 3% said they would support a third-party candidate, and the rest were just undecided. Now, this poll also showed that most American voters were locked in on their choice for president. 9 out of 10 likely Biden voters and 8 out of 10 likely Trump voters said that they were, quote, completely certain about their choice for president. Only 1 in 10, though, likely Biden voters and fewer than 2 in 10 likely Trump voters appeared to be wavering in their choice. Yeah.
What was very interesting to see is how the political and electoral systems work across the world. Over in South Asia, India, Pakistan, and even in the United Kingdom, we have proportional representation, and we see that certain seats are heavier than the other seats. So in certain parts of the country, you can become prime minister of that country because you've got one seat in a particular jurisdiction or a particular constituency that carries more of a weight based on a lot of reasons, taxation, importance and significance to the country. And based on that, they get chosen as prime minister. So Trump did not win the popular vote in 2016. But won
still
but he won through the electoral college
Exactly.
system.
Yeah, exactly. States are allocated delegates, and they're roughly proportional to their populations, with 538 delegates in total. So a larger state with a higher population would have more delegates assigned. Now, if a candidate has or wins the majority of the electoral college in that state, they grab all the delegates of that state. So in a way, for instance, if, say, Trump was going against Biden, and you have a swing state, he could win by a razor-thin margin and then acquire all the delegates, and that would give him a solid lead in that in the election as far as that state being added to the total. So it's a pretty interesting system, how one could win by the electoral college and not get the popular vote and still win the election. It's also interesting here thinking about polls in general, because back in 2016, the polls heavily predicted that Hillary Clinton would win. She did win the popular vote, but she wound up losing, and that's because, again, Trump won on those razor-thin states as well, and wound up with 56.5% of the electoral college in his favor. Looking at the current election, despite the fact that Biden leads in polls, we've seen some changes recently. They're saying the state of Florida, Virginia, and New Mexico, they went from leaning Democrat to being a toss-up. So that could swing in Trump's favor as well. So that's another interesting consideration here in this election.
You're looking at the figures as well. 11% of suburban whites said their most important factor in driving their vote was a candidate's perceived interest in being tough on crime and civil unrest. We've seen a little bit of civil unrest movements in the United States over the last few weeks, and Trump has had a very important say in them as well, which may not have been that morally right, but he's been appealing to those voters anyway. It'll be very interesting to see what happens in the elections. Sadly, and the polls and these research surveys don't really indicate or even lead you to the right conclusion, but it sort of gives you an idea of how the momentum is. Donald Trump at the moment plans to spend about $10 million on advertisements that focus on the economy, an issue where he maintains his high level of popularity, and is also an area where if he continues to focus on, it might just get a lot of people who may have lost their jobs or even are frustrated with the economy to cast their vote in favor of him.
Yeah, I think if they focused more on the coronavirus, because that is the number one concern according to those polls, battling the coronavirus ranked as the number one concern among the population, and also restoring trust in government, that was number two. So if they focused on these two things, that will definitely make them flourish more.
Yeah, that is important. And as far as polls as well, analysts or some say that these polls, their accuracy might be undermined by the fact that this year we're going to be seeing an unexpected level of engagement as far as voter turnout is concerned. So strong voter participation might cloud the results, which are built on a predetermined level of participation. In 2016, the same people who voted Trump into the office were not factored in those polls as well. So there are a lot of flaws in the science of it. Other factors coming into play here, the COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on the very act of voting. There's a massive controversy brewing with regards to mail-in votes or in-person votes as well. So Trump and his Republican supporters have spoken against voting by mail. They say it's not valid, it's not a secure method, while Democrats are much more likely to rely on vote by mail. So in the middle of that, Democrats and other groups are bringing up a number of lawsuits to try to get this vote by mail thing to remain. So that is another interesting complicating factor to this presidential election, not to mention the countless controversies, the coronavirus situation, the state of the economy, and protests across the country and how they could have an impact on voting and other issues.
Well, certainly we do know that Donald Trump is going to be very active on Twitter and will be having his say a lot of times. And it is going to be very interesting to see how things do progress from here. And I'm looking at his recent tweets. He says Don't worry, wonderful and beautiful Alaska. There will be no politics in the Pebble Mine review process. I will do what is right for Alaska and our great country. So he's been quite vocal about a lot of issues at the moment. Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what happens over the next few weeks. Do get involved on the text lines 4215. And if you'd like to share your thoughts and opinions on the presidential race, we welcome your thoughts. 4215 is the text line. We'll be right back after a bit of a short break. Shout out to all of you tuning in from across the globe. We will be returning very, very shortly.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis, Pulse 95.
Yeah, join the conversation with the Morning Majlis. If you're a frontline worker, how does it benefit you when we talk about the idea that the Frontline Workers Office has announced plans and intentions to offer scholarship to the students and the children of those workers out and about. So let us know on the text lines 4215. And the announcement comes as we are seeing a sudden rise in cases across the globe as well.
Yeah, it's a sad situation. But the happy thing is that, this brand new initiative to support COVID-19, frontline workers will provide scholarships for their children to attend public schools across the UAE. This is called the Hayakum Initiative, and it has been set up as a partnership between the Ministry of Education and the Frontline Heroes Office. And it aims to provide children of frontline healthcare professionals with access to quality education while also alleviating financial stress arising from the need to pay tuition. Now, those scholarships will cover all nationalities and all frontline healthcare workers, from doctors and nurses to hospital cleaners. Scholarships are for public schools only, not private.
Yeah, and this is an important initiative as the frontline workers are valiantly reporting to their jobs despite the risks, and they are doing this to keep us safe, healthy, and keep the United Arab Emirates' economy in motion. Now, more into the requirements of these of the Hayakum School scholarships, which go on until the 30th of September for the applications. So a student must be the child of a UAE-based frontline healthcare worker. So at least one of your parents has to work as far as being a frontline worker in the health sector. The student must be enrolled in or attending a UAE-based public school, and any nationality can apply. That fact is also important to mention.
Yeah, and the scholarships also, they cover the cost of tuition, laptops, and transport until graduation, starting from high school.
Yeah, they have the big clause here is that they have to be enrolled in a public school of the United Arab Emirates. And we've got a statement here from the chairman of the board of the Frontline Heroes Office, Sheikh Sultan bin Thanoon and Alan Nahyan, who said that our frontline professionals are the true heroes of the UAE, and we thank them from the bottom of our hearts. This selfless service to the communities has helped us get through this difficult time, and they are a shining example of the true values and culture of the UAE. A very important initiative here. The Frontline Heroes Office was in fact established in July this year to support the staff and professionals who work tirelessly on the front lines of emergencies and crises. It is mandated to look after their needs in partnership with government entities. It was the first collaborative project of Hayakum, the Hayakum initiative with the Ministry of Education, and they've also got a comprehensive national database of about 80,000 frontline workers and volunteers. So this is going to be welcome news, and hopefully it's going to offer the much needed relief for those frontline workers. Well, stay with us on the Morning Majlis. We will continue the discussion and the vibes of education here on the program because we've got a very important interview lined up. So if you're one of those who was aspiring to do a master's degree, was thinking of doing or getting some extra qualifications now that you've been able to save some money from the COVID-19 situation by not being a massive spender, then do get involved on the text lines 4215. You can catch the broadcast of the show on YouTube as well. Up next, we'll be talking to the director of Capital College based here in Sharjah. What's happening? Join the discussions, and we'll continue the education vibes here on the Morning Majlis.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis, Pulse 95.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis. Text lines remain open, and 4215 is where you can drop us a question. How about we get you a qualification from the London College of Arts? How about we get you a degree from Westcliff University in California or Rome Business School in Italy, and without having to leave the beautiful emirate of Sharjah? Well, there's a chance. There's always an option. And everyone's always thinking about what to do with their careers. So what we have is the director of Capital College joining us this morning, Dr. Sanjay Bhateja, who is the director of the Capital College, which is an educational institution based here in Sharjah and has been working since 1998. A very good morning to you, Dr. Sanjay.
And a very good morning to you and to all the listeners of Pulse 95.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on air with us. Now, let's start talking about the big thing at the moment is the fact that many people have been thinking about their budgets at the moment, and they've saved up money and are maybe looking at exploring other options, maybe lost their work and looking at diversifying. What trend have you seen in terms of the applicants at the moment and what they'd like to say?
I think you're absolutely right. Some people have lost their jobs. Others are looking for better opportunities. A lot of people have not traveled, so they have some money saved. Either ways, people are now investing in education for themselves. They have restarted. We have seen a 400% increase in the number of people who have applied for the MBA programs, which is phenomenal. The whole world is crying, COVID is here, businesses are shutting down. It's all true. But in education, I feel there is still an upsurge because people now need a qualification to either move up or migrate into a different country or for any of the other reasons.
And can you talk to us about how these partnerships work, how they came to be?
As I mentioned, we started in 1998. Mm-hmm. The reason we started was because the parents and students were always seeking international qualifications from top schools. Reasons, as I mentioned earlier, progression, migration, even simply personal development. Now, partnering with other universities, the best part is that it brings in their strengths to the UAE. It gives an access to all these students, which they may not have otherwise. Now, today, the students who study with these international schools get the same qualification they would get studying in the mother campus. They get the same curriculum. They have the option of graduating at the mother campus, and at the same time, the biggest thing is that they get access to the alumni network. So this is one of the reasons we got into the partnership with different schools and different universities internationally.
Talking about the educational qualifications, it's really interesting to see that people have that option nowadays, isn't it?
It is, and it's always a delight to see UAE-based universities partner up with prestigious institutions abroad to offer students in the country a quality education and better prepare them for the job market as well, because you get that perspective from another country and another working environment as well. And more than ever, we're seeing the way in which education has been innovated and transformed amid COVID-19, opening up more possibilities that you don't have to be within the physical constraints of a particular campus. You can access all forms of education no matter where they lie from.
Yeah, I think we'll have to take a little bit of a break in terms of what needs to be done. We'll be hoping to get Dr. Sanjay back and continue the discussions here. Let us know on the text lines 4215 if you had any dream of joining any particular university and wanting to do to gain a new qualification, and what course would you like to do? That's one thing that it will be interesting to find out. So let's stay tuned to Pulse 95. We'll be right back after this short break.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis, Pulse 95.
Yes, join the conversation. Text us at 4215 and welcome back to the program. Here with us on the air this morning is Dr. Sanjay Bhateja, Director of Capital College, here to talk to us about how his institution has partnered with a number of prestigious universities from around the world to offer students here in the Emirate of Sharjah a higher quality education. Welcome back to the program, Dr. Sanjay.
Thank you so much.
So to resume our conversation, let's talk about how the degrees provided get their accreditation.
Right. So let us first define what accreditation is. Accreditation is the simple act of granting credit or recognition, especially to an education institution that maintains suitable standards. Now, having said that, all our degrees are accredited in their home countries. So we work with a British university. It is approved by the QAA, which is the Quality Assurance Agency for Higher Education. We work with the American School. It is accredited regionally and internationally by the local accrediting bodies in the US. And we work with Rome Business School, which is also approved and accredited by the Italian Mission. So all of these get accreditation by following what we call very rigorous processes. And then they have to maintain even further rigorous processes to actually keep the accreditation together. Now, presently, of course, as far as we are concerned in the UAE, we receive the entire official university curriculum, the entire content. We lecture the students based on that specific content. All the student assessments are first marked by us and then by the mother campus personnel. And finally, we receive 2 QA visits, which is quality assurance visits from officials of the respective university who come down to our Sharjah campus and look at our students, look at our work and our facilities. So the benefit of this is that accreditation purely provides the standards to be at par with the mother campus. And the beauty is the students can move seamlessly from Sharjah to the mother campus or to different universities as well. And the icing on the cake is that they receive WES points, WES. This is very important for people looking to move to countries like Canada or New Zealand for migration purposes. So this is how the degree accreditation is used.
Well, what are WES points?
Overall. WES is basically it's an evaluating body that evaluates your degree against the country you intend to move into, whether you want to go to Canada. So it will take your degree, which may be British, Indian, or anything, and give you points against the Canadian equivalent. Or if you want to go to New Zealand, the same process. So the degree to be accredited allows you to get WES points, and that's the benefit of the whole process.
Can you describe the experience of higher education students when it comes to distance learning and how efficient it is?
Right. See, distance learning, by definition, is basically studying away from home campus, which means that you are studying in Sharjah, in your own environment, in your own surrounding. Now, conventionally, when we looked at universities, because we used to work with ranked universities before as well, they used to follow a very old system of putting in the textbooks in PDF formats online, giving it to the students, putting some assignments, expecting the students to be self-motivated and do the assignments on due date and grading them. A very, very old-fashioned approach. Today, the distance learning approach is fantastic. Now, I will just speak for ourselves. Basically, what we do is we invest a lot in video content. So we have our own studios where we do the video content. We curate it really on a high level. Then we share that with the students on a very friendly learning management system, which looks more like Facebook or the type which people are already comfortable with. So the LMS system is very, very comfortable. We share the videos there. Even the case studies today, we explain in video format. So the students can be sitting in Saudi, can be sitting in India, I don't know where, but they will have a very comforting experience knowing that this is my faculty, he or she is talking to me, she is explaining to me as if I'm right in front of them. The assignments are given to them, due dates are given, and we also make sure that we measure their progression. Every single class is measured, and every week they have a 1-hour session for Q&A live. online using the wonders of technology. So this way they stay connected with all the other students also studying distance learning by choice or, because of the present situation, but they still feel a part of the institution. So distance learning today is just wonderful.
It does sound incredible. Now, I'd like to ask you about the Emirate of Sharjah as a destination for education as well, because I'm pretty sure there'll be a lot of students who are based in Sharjah would like to sign up with you. Do you have any international or even regional applicants? To what extent are they from the neighboring areas to sign up in Sharjah to be connected to international universities?
Yes. For the last few years, actually, we have been receiving applications from countries such as India, from Pakistan, and from many, many countries of the African continent. Now, this is wonderful, and it has actually increased now all the more because after COVID, many of these other destinations which were considered preferred, like the UK and the US, they have put in more restrictions towards the student visas and related. And UAE, as you know, is a very, very safe country. From even COVID point of view, we are quite content and contained, and everything is being looked after in a very neat and sanitized way. So students are actually sending us more applications now from these countries where they cannot go to the UK. They rather come to Dubai or Sharjah and study with us and do their degree courses with us. So I think the number of applications are actually increasing all the more. And we have received, like I was mentioning earlier, almost 400% more students applying to study with us at our Sharjah campus.
That's incredible. Got a text in from Rashid who says, can I get a degree in... which degree do I get? Do you get a capital institute degree or do you get a university degree of the mother campus? That's what I'm guessing he's trying to say, Rashid.
Right. To Rashid again, Rashid, we provide you the degrees of the mother campus. So if you're studying with the UK system, you'll receive a degree from the North Wales Business School, Glyndŵr University. If you're studying the American one, you'll get it from Westcliff University directly. And if you're studying the European one, you'll get it from the Rome Business School.
Okay. And are you going to expand any university dealings in the future, given that you've said that you've got 400% spike in the number of people trying to register?
See, our target has always been to focus on the schools that are providing a lot of value to the students and also giving them an accredited qualification where they can seamlessly transfer to the campus. Okay. That is the most important thing. I think right now we have covered the US, we have got a Californian-based university, we have covered UK, and we have covered Europe. I think we've got 3 diamonds on board. We are quite content at this point.
At this point in time. So if I were to be a student who's graduated from the fantastic University of Leeds, and if I want to go back to it again via Sharjah, I can't do that at the moment with you. So now, in terms of talking to us about the type of courses people are looking for,
the programs,
the programs that they're interested in. If someone were to ask me what degree would you do, I'd say maybe AI, 5G, given the fact that's how Future Talk team are also quite happy. Talk to us about what degrees people are looking at the moment.
Right. See, I'll tell you, we have 2 different groups of people coming to us. We have those who are mature students, the ones who have got employed early in time because maybe they didn't have money at that time. Maybe that was the cultural requirement that, after finishing over A levels, they get into employment, have studied for 10 years, work for 10 years or 12 years. Now they decide to come back into education. The British system actually allows them to enroll for an MBA program without the necessity of actually having a bachelor degree through the mature entry. So this is a crowd we are seeing who is actually approaching us a lot more than before to get an MBA on board so that they can, of course, use it for migration or progression. The other audience we are seeing is the design students. A lot of guys, a lot of youngsters are today moving away from business education and coming into design. So we offer the fashion and the interior design courses, which are actually, they have won 26 design awards in the UAE. And also now we have started a makeup program. So we are seeing a lot of people now showing very positive movement towards the design industry. So I think these 2 areas is where we get a lot of our inquiries and a lot of our conversions into.
That's amazing. Well, Dr. Sanjay, thank you very much for joining us this morning, and we look forward
Thank you so
to checking out what other courses and what other universities will be joining your partnership agreements. And we look forward to hearing from you at some point soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and stay safe.
Thank you.
Stay safe, everyone. What a wonderful message to take back. But let's prepare for the world of business news right here on Pulse 95, and we'll continue the discussions right after that.
Pulse 95. You're listening to Pulse 95. Pulse 95.
It's Pulse 95.